Hello, this is D, and I'm back with another video. Well, today I got some exciting news, the news that we've all been waiting for regarding the ABK merger, and it has been approved by the EU. Now, I see everybody's going crazy online, on Twitter. People are throwing up videos in the forums. Everyone's just going crazy. They are ecstatic that this deal got approved in the EU. Now, a lot of people were saying that this deal was dead because of the CMA decision, and I did say this deal is not dead until the EU kills it. I did believe that if the EU didn't approve this deal today, that we pretty much have to say that this deal is dead. It'd be just too much for Microsoft to overcome. They'd have the CMA, they'd have the EU, and the FTC. Now, the FTC, like I said before, we can't predict anything, but if I had to guess, I think the FTC rule, I think they're going to beat that. They're either going to pull it back and make some concessions, or they're going to lose in court. I'm pretty sure that their argument is sound with the FTC. Now, the CMA is a completely different beast. And, after today's announcement, they kind of doubled down on what they said. We'll get into that a little bit later, but let's talk about the EU decision and what this means for the Xbox brand, for Microsoft, for this deal going forward. Now, it is a huge win for Microsoft. However, there were a few concessions. Well, one concession that had to be made, and it was regarding access to the clouds in Microsoft or Activision Blizzard games. Now, they're going to have to offer free license access to Activision games for cloud game streaming providers and users. So this is all of the cloud providers out there. They're gonna have to give them a free license. Now, I saw a lot of guys jumping up in arms saying, oh, see, so the deal's never gonna go through. They're not gonna give their games for free, or other people laughing, saying, oh, they gotta give their games for free. And you guys, you just don't understand it. You have to own the game. They're going to give a free license to the cloud providers so you can play your games there, which is what Microsoft wants. They want you to be able to play your games anywhere you can play them. They just want to sell them to you. And this does not prevent them from selling their games to you. So I don't understand how this is a bad thing. And Microsoft, they're going to do this because it's a no-brainer. You're still going to have to purchase their games. You're going to have to link your account where you bought your game from to the cloud provider, and then you're going to have access to your game via the free license that they get from Microsoft. So this is a win. This is a huge deal going forward, for anyone that opposes this deal. They've made all concessions thus far. So I just don't understand why people are still against this deal going through. Originally, it was about Sony and the consoles, and it wasn't going to be fair, and it was anti-competitive, and that was thrown out, that was ruled down, that was not a part of the CMA's decision. Now it's all about the cloud. And these concessions here, I feel, negate whatever the CMA was saying regarding the cloud. But they have a different opinion on everything. I would say directly after the EU announcement, the CMA came out with a couple of statements, and it's just going to blow your mind. So let's just go through it here. They go on to say that the UK and US and European competition authorities are unanimous that this merger would harm competition in cloud gaming. The CMA conclude that cloud gaming needs to be a free service and a competitive market to drive innovation and choice that is rapidly evolving in the sector. Now, I just finished telling you guys that the concession that Microsoft and Activision made was to allow their games to go onto all cloud providers for free. So there is no disadvantage for these cloud providers because they're able to play these games for free. They don't have to pay for the license, which makes their service more attractive to maybe another user that wants a game that's on their service. This is great for competition. And I have to reiterate that the cloud market is so minute at the moment. I don't know the exact numbers. I think it's either one to somewhere in there. It's a real small number of cloud gamers. So this isn't even a market yet. And yes, Microsoft wants to make it a market, but you need to make it a market in order for it to be competitive. It has to exist. It just blows my mind what the CMA is saying here. Now, they go on to say that Microsoft's proposal accepted by the European Commission today would allow Microsoft to set the terms and conditions for this market for the next 10 years. They would replace a free, open, and competitive market with one subject to ongoing regulation of games Microsoft sells, the platform to which it sells them on, and the condition of sale. Now, that part of the statement, it's salty to me. I got to be honest with you guys. Now, they go on to say this is one of the reasons that the CMA independent panel group rejected Microsoft's proposal and prevented this deal. While we recognize and respect the European Commission is entitled to take a different view, the CMA stands by its decision. So this is a case of wrong and strong, and I just don't understand it. Great concessions were made today with the EU deal. They will allow other cloud providers access to their Activision Blizzard games for free on their service. This is a great advantage for these service providers. They don't have to pay a licensing fee for Microsoft games. It's going to allow millions of more gamers access to games. It's going to stir up the economy. It's going to give growth to cloud gaming, which is going to create more opportunities. I don't need to go on, but I got to say that common sense just isn't common these days. And I don't know what the CMA is going on about here. At the end of last week, I put up a video that the UK Prime Minister, he put some new rules in effect for the CMA. And basically it was to cut all the red tape, to allow competition, to allow businesses to grow, to stir up the economy. And it was very direct that you need to stir up the economy. That needs to be the number one goal. And their reasonings here don't make sense. Microsoft Activision, they were upset when the deal was blocked, and they said that they might have to reevaluate their businesses in the UK. That would be a huge blow. Microsoft Activision, they are huge companies. They are part of that economy. Them leaving would hurt the economy. Now, I've also heard people say, well, Microsoft just doesn't have to do any business in UK. They don't need this deal in UK. They don't need it to be approved. And I kind of thought at the beginning, and I have heard that that's not the case, that they do need this deal to go through in the UK. Now, if I'm wrong about that, you can let me know in the comment section down below. I'm not a lawyer. I do a lot of research on this topic, on all the topics that I talk about. So I try to talk on it with as much knowledge as I have. But I got to be honest with you, this is just a huge story, and there's so much legal stuff involved. But that's what I heard. I heard that, you have to have the UK involved in this. Now, some other people say, well, you can just take cloud gaming out of the UK. And that kind of makes sense to me. I don't know if it's a real possibility, but that is one way. You can just take cloud gaming out of the UK, and let's say even go as far as taking all of the Activision Blizzard games out of the UK, out of this deal, and then they could pass it through. Some other people said, well, they can create a different company or a shell company, or they can just do business in a different way to get around all the red tape. I don't know how true that is. I know the best thing is that the CMA approves this deal. Now, the UK Prime Minister, he could step in. I have heard that as well, that he can step in and he can just bypass the CMA. I've heard that it's very rare. It's very unlikely to happen. I don't know if this is entirely true. If it isn't, somebody can also let me know in the comment section down below. But that is one scenario that is a possibility, let's say that, where he could step in and allow this deal to go through, because it will grow the economy. It will grow cloud gaming. It's good for the industry. It's good for all of these other companies that are going to be able to get a free license to play these Activision games. So I don't know. How can you oppose this deal at this point? And I know that there's some Sony guys that don't want this deal to go through. I don't understand. Why don't you want this deal to go through? It doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect your bottom line. You still get to enjoy your Sony games because you're not interested in Microsoft games. So why should it bother you? If you want to play Call of Duty, you're still going to be able to play Call of Duty on the PlayStation. Microsoft said they're not going to remove it from there. So what is your problem with this deal going through? So there's a lot of grandstanding from fans, and I kind of don't like that. If you have a sound argument, that's a different thing. These guys, they don't have a sound argument. They just don't want the deal to go through. They complain that Microsoft doesn't have any games, and they don't have any studios. Microsoft goes out and buys studios and say, oh, you guys are a monopoly. Microsoft goes out to buy Activision, and Sony loses their mind saying, oh my gosh, we can't imagine a Sony world without Call of Duty, and oh my goodness, it would take us so many years to ever come up with a Call of Duty competitor. It was just ridiculous, right? They just don't want Microsoft to compete. And for you people out there that want Xbox to fail, Can you imagine a gaming landscape without Xbox? Do you know how much you'd be paying for your PlayStation 5 games? You'd be paying $100. You'd be paying $100 more for your PlayStation 5 consoles. It would be an awful place. Sony is not your friend. They make great stuff, they make great games, but they like to make money. And if they could charge you more, they would charge you more. So competition is a good thing for everybody. And you can't tell me there's not games on the Xbox platform that you don't like. How could you not like, say, Forza Horizon 5? That game is amazing, one of, if not the best racer ever made. How could you really hate on the Game Pass service that offers so much value? Okay, that's pretty much it. That was a little bit of a rant there. I guess I had that built up in me for quite some time. Now, Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick actually said something today in an email to his employees. He goes on to say that today we achieved an important milestone. The European Commission, one of the world's most thorough and respected regulators, approved our merger with Microsoft. This decision underscores the benefits our transaction provides to players and to competition. Careful regulators in numerous other countries have already approved the merger. By joining them today, the EC has once again demonstrated their rigorous, fair, and sensible approach with creation and appropriate regulatory guardrails that ensure competition in an important growth industry. Microsoft has agreed to these conditions as part of the EC's approval, including licenses for legitimate cloud gaming providers to stream Activision Blizzard games and enforce mechanisms to ensure these regulatory commitments are upheld. This important step provides a proper roadmap for regulators around the world to consider when determining how best to encourage and promote competition in the gaming industry. Now, that was a real important statement right there. This step provides a proper roadmap for regulators around the world to consider when determining how best to encourage and promote competition in the gaming industry. And the CMA came out afterwards and said the comment that I read earlier. Let it make sense. Anyways, he goes on to say there is still work to be accomplished before our merger can be finalized, but it is encouraging that regulators like the European Commission understand and appreciate the considerable growth opportunities provided by our industry. Thank you for your patience as we work to promote a free, fair trade, healthy competition, and broader recognition for the extraordinary work our people do each day to entertain hundreds of millions of people around the world. Now, that's a great statement. So they're gonna do what they need to do. They're going to provide the licenses for free to all of the cloud providers in the region. They said it themselves. This provides a roadmap for other regulators. We're looking at you, CMA. Now, what is the UK government going to do now? Because I think the CMA is being spiteful. I think it's a case where you're wrong and strong. And let's remember that these people, they're human beings. They're individuals. So they have their own process of thought. And a lot of people don't like to be found wrong. And I don't think they're any different. But I do think that this deal is going to get an appeal. And it's going to go back to the CMA. And what decision are they going to make, especially when they're making the comments that they made today? Is the UK government going to step in? Because I believe all of their concerns were addressed by the EU today. So there's no reason, in my opinion, that this shouldn't go through by the CMA. Because all of their concerns were addressed. Now, the FTC, I do think they're going to either pull it back or they're going to lose in court. Their arguments are weak at best. They're not good. So most people are expecting that. The CMA, we just don't know. And I have to say, although this is a great day for Xbox fans, it's a day, to jump up and to be happy, to know that this deal is not dead and there's hope and that there is a blueprint for other divisions that have a problem with certain aspects of the deal. So let's celebrate that for sure. But at the same time, we don't know where this deal could go. Don't be saying, oh, that's it. It's a done deal. The deal's going to go through. Yes, it's better for the deal, but anything can happen, especially if you've been watching and paying close attention to this whole ordeal over the last year or so. It's been a crazy ride, so it's safe not to predict anything. It's a good day for Xbox. I do think this bodes well for the deal. We're going to have to see what happens with the appeal, and that's pretty much the next step going forward. Anyways, I want to know what you guys think about all of this. Do you think this is great for the deal? Do you think this helps the deal to go through the CMA? Do you think that the UK is going to approve this deal now, seeing the concessions that Microsoft made for the EU? Let me know in the comment section down below. As well, if you think that this deal is just not going to go through, that the CMA is going to block it, even if it gets appealed, that the UK government is not going to step in, and this deal is dead, and that's the end of that. Let me know also in the comment section down below. Anyways, like I usually say, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one.